Good evening, everyone, and welcome. You've been so nice and quiet. It's really a moment of Zen, really nice. So we're going to begin the meeting and welcome. We're going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Howard.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We stand for a reflection of our world and what we're going through and the things that are just happening around us, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Roll call, Ms. Clerk.
Ms. Burton, Mr. Duray, Ms. Green, here. Mr. Howard,
Here.
Mr. Lamar, here. Mr. Levinstein, here. Ms. Mineo, here. Mr. Straight-Iron, Mr. Walker.
Here.
I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Manning Campbell. We have two presentations.
Thank you so much, Madam President. Members of the community and students, it's so nice to see you here. And I have to echo Ms. Mineo. What a pleasant, nice audience. So thank you all for coming, and we do hope that you continue to come to our meetings, even when there's not a presentation. We know how hard it is, but please, if you could show up so you can learn something about the community and about our district every time that you come, even if you can't stay the entire time. So thank you for coming. Tonight, Mr. Dotto, co-principal of Newburgh Free Academy, will be sharing a presentation about NFA Midtown along with Mr. Woody. Thank you.
I got it. Thank you. Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Campbell, members of the Cabinet, and the rest of the Board of Education. I'm pretty excited about being here tonight. I want to go back for a moment to when we presented for North and we said, I made a statement about being defined as an event or being defined by, negativity. One of the things that I think you'll see tonight is that we are not defined by those events. We're defined by what we do every single day and what we challenge the adults and also our students to do every single day. So we're excited to present to you tonight some highlights and some specifics about Midtown campus, the NFA Midtown campus. I do want to make a quick note, however, because of the change that we had from last night to tonight. Unfortunately, as you know, in our presentation, we were going to have a lot of students present tonight, but because of the change, unfortunately, we're missing a few students. However, there is a brave student that is going to do a lot of talking tonight. There he goes. So he's comfortable with that. Please take that into account with the schedule change. The snow day that everybody was praying for. So if we go to I have the clicker. There we go. We wanted to, before I call Mr. Woody up to the podium, we wanted to go over a few highlights. Obviously, everybody knows that Midtown campus was established in September of 2022 as the fourth NFA campus. And the mission in the beginning stages of this program was to create a culture of care for our scholars. But we also called it an opportunity school. Why? Because it gave the opportunity for our students at Midtown to be able to earn credits towards graduation and bring them to an equal ground with the rest of the campuses. And that's been our goal from the beginning. We can talk about, what we've heard before about NFA Midtown. However, I think tonight you'll see that there is, the common goal of getting to Academy Field by providing an opportunity for our students at Midtown. We've seen, as you can see by the highlights, we've seen an increased attendance of 10% from quarter one to quarter two. We don't talk about honor roll when we talk about Midtown at times, but I want you to know that although you say 6 students, but 6 students have been able to be successful at Midtown. So even if it was 1, it's a number that's really important because we're impacting students. And that's why it's critical to understand that 6 were able to work hard to make the honor roll. There's a few, I'm not going to go to every single one, but obviously we've created, hopefully, an opportunity that some programs within a program, like Black Rock Forest, school-wide art expression contest, being able to work with, with the opportunity, again, within the school at Midtown to be able to improve each and every day. So we're proud of that, and we're really proud of the fact that, again, you will see tonight and you will hear tonight why we are creating a culture of care. So although most people maybe don't know this, but when Midtown, and I know some of you might have been present at the leadership retreat, that is really where the beginning stages of Midtown occurred when it came to creating that culture. Now, in any school, in any school, you're going to look to create a culture. You're going to, that's the number one, the number one focus, to build relationships, to be able to get to the next step, which is success in the classroom. Now, at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Woody to kind of highlight the leadership piece and also what students are doing within the campus, this 4th campus. Mr. Woody.
Madam President, board members, Dr. Campbell, cabinet members, as Mr. Dotto has mentioned, at the Midtown campus, our students have been involved in the kindness campaign. And here we have highlighted just a few of what they've done. Sean Sanchez, who happens to be here tonight, spoke kind words to his staff. And so people may say, well, that's not that big, but it is that big when students go out of their way and they are speaking kindly towards the staff members. Another student comes to school daily with a positive attitude. And this gentleman was supposed to be here tonight. He's the one who says he wanted to be the first one in his family to graduate from high school. So he comes every day and he tries hard to do that. Another student who was going to be here tonight, I'll go to the last one, Mia. She lifts up spirits and kind words at our campus. She's always encouraging the other students to get their work done and to be positive. Now, I just wanted to share just 2 posters, just show you 2 posters of the work that the students are doing. They prepared these for our, thank you. They prepared these for our Black History Month celebration, which was supposed to be yesterday, but we had the snow that everyone prayed for, including myself. So they were going to talk about this tonight, but she's not here. So at this time, I'm just going to ask Sean.
Jump to his picture.
Yeah. If he would come at this time and just share. Don't say any names.
All right. How we doing this afternoon, everybody? All right. So Midtown for me. All right. So at first, I didn't want to go. To be honest, it was a decision that I had to make. That was going to better off myself. So at first it was tough, Not everyone wanted to be there at all. But now you got students that want to go and want to get their education and whatnot. Even though every school you're gonna have troubles here and there, fights and whatnot. But we try to obviously stop that from happening. But it's a process. Yeah. speaking off of what I've been through, last year for me was I wasn't going to school. My attendance was really bad. My grades were really bad. These first 2 quarters I passed. I'm not saying I passed with flying colors, 90s or anything, A pluses, but I passed. And, you know, if it wasn't for the environment at Midtown, even though it could be a little crazy here and there, I don't think I would have been able to pass both quarters. That I had a word in my head, I just lost it. But yeah, the teachers put up with a lot too. Now them, I have respect for them because, yeah, I have respect for them. Yeah, overall, me, I like the program. I like what they're trying to do. I stand for it now, even though in the beginning I didn't. But I stand for it now. I like what we're doing and trying to see it grow. Yep, that's it. Thank you.
Sean, I want them to see the back of your sweatshirt. I just got one today, too. Together, together, together.
Change the world in 30 days. Newburgh and Lar City School District's Kindness Campaign 2023.
That's right. Thank you. It's a process.
And so as we conclude, Mr. Dotto and Sean are passing out a sheet of paper that has the highlights from our kindness campaign. And we would like for each of you to, on the back of that paper or at the bottom of that sheet, just to write down your act of kindness that you have done. And then we'll take them back to the building and then we will add them to our bulletin board. Get away now. You don't have to put your name on it. It could be anonymous.
You told them we're going to ham up at school?
Sean can collect it.
Could you repeat the assignment, please?
Yes, we just want you to write down your act of kindness that you've done this week, this month. Well, not this month, it just started. But recently.
I think they thought they were going to have homework today.
I know. You have a pen?
And thank you for participating with our kindness activity. And I hope you can kind of circle back to what I said earlier about what we're defined as. Thank you so much. We thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Sean, Mr. Dotto, and Mr. Woody. Mr. Glowacki, principal of Gidney Avenue Memorial School, will be sharing a presentation about his school.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Manning Campbell, board members, executive team. Good evening. Thank you for having us. So we have a lot of great things going on at Gidney Avenue, and this is Miss Pena, my assistant principal, who's fabulous.
Good evening.
we have a lot of amazing things going on at our school, and we're highlighting one thing. And student advisory this year, we formed, because that was based off our school comprehensive education plan as a targeted school. One of the things that we really want to make sure is that the SEP is a living and breathing document and something that's actionable in the school. So based off of student surveys in the 21-22 school year, students wanted more voice. They wanted to be heard in the school about decisions, and they want their teachers to know what they're thinking and feeling and how they want. So we said, what a great idea. Let's form a student advisory and get feedback from kids along the way so that we're making their voice in our decisions. Teachers were invited to nominate students on certain criteria. Teachers nominated students. Each grade is represented, and we have meetings once a month during the lunch period. So we have a kindergarten first grade group, a second and third, and a fourth and fifth. It makes our day. It doesn't matter what mood we're in or what is going on. It is just absolutely amazing to hear and get their insights on the school. And just a quick fact, from the 21-22 school year, there were 70 student surveys completed from students on the implementation of the SEP and how we're doing. Right now, for our mid-year checkpoint, we have 415 responses. So we're really living and truly believe in the student voice, that it makes sure that we're on the right path. And if we're not on the right path, then we have to pivot and do something else. But gaining their feedback and getting a good understanding, and that's a huge thank you to the teachers, the teaching assistants, the teaching aides, all who help the kids complete the Google form, because sometimes it's really hard to get the kindergartners on the computer to answer another question. But from the help of all of us and the work through the whole school, was able to get it to be accomplished. So it's a really great path that we're on right now.
Good evening, everyone. And so this evening we have invited some of our student advisory students, and they're here, and you'll hear from a few of them in a few minutes. But the purpose of the student advisory is to seek the pulse of the student body. We want to know what they're thinking, what they want, what they don't want, and we want them to be as transparent as possible. I know one of our meetings, a student was like, less math, more recess. We're like, okay, let's see how we can work that out. We give them that opportunity to be that voice, because this is their building, right? And we're working for them and servicing them. So we want to make sure that we are able to provide, for their needs and what they really want to see at school. So that if we provide that, they want to come to school and be happy at school. And so that's what the purpose of the student advisory is. And so, let's see, based on some previous feedback during our first meeting, and you see some of the pictures, again, we've asked, what would you like? And we were very taken aback during the very, very first meeting. They wanted certain books. They were very specific on the books that were not in their classrooms. And so we had more Mo Willems books, more Judy B. Jones books, the I Survive series books. They wanted more recess equipment, hula hoops, jump ropes. They wanted a large tic-tac-toe, Connect Four, the tic-tac-toe. And so we were able to provide those things, and they were able, we'll have a small presentation, and you'll see the students playing with them. And so, so we're hearing them, but we're also acting on what they're, because it's very easy to hear the students and just ignore and keep it going, but no, we're showing them that they are important, and we are listening to them, and we're going to try our best to work with them to give them what they would like to see at Gidney. And so now I have a couple of students. Who's presenting? Come on. Randy. And so another suggestion, and this is Randy. Say hi.
Hi, good evening. My name is Randy Chirinos, and I am a fourth grader in Miss Santana's class. Some suggestions for the court: us kids, student advisory people, we ask for more plants, hang a bird feeder, create a game area like Connect Four, and bring bag toss.
Thank you. And just a little background information, we do have a courtyard that we are looking to revamp and make more beautiful. And so we're not making those decisions. The student advisory is making the decisions, and we've asked them to ask their friends, what do you want to see in the courtyard? I mean, some of the things they're asking for, I don't know, we can, give, but definitely, and you can see through the pictures, bird feeder was one that they've asked for. There goes the Connect Four game. And this is Malaysia. And so we asked about field day, because field day is coming up. Spring is here and field day is coming up. And so that was our previous meeting, our last meeting, and we asked, what are we doing for field day? What do you want to happen? So.
Hi, my name is Malaysia Murphy, and I'm in 5th grade in Ms. Paulson's class, and we wanted for field day is bingo, tug of war, soccer, basketball, tic-tac-toe.
Can you tell them about the outdoor classroom? That was your suggestion about the classroom. So we go back to the courtyard. What did you specifically want us to be in the courtyard?
Have a board for our teachers to teach us outside, and for the garden, a bigger space.
Thank you. She wanted an outdoor classroom. She wanted for her teachers to teach outside. So that was her suggestion. Thank you, Malaysia. And this is Jose.
Hi, my name is Jose Aguirre, and I am a student in 4th grade in Miss Cobra and Miss Matula's class. Some suggestions that we got from the Student Advisory Council from other grades are to play in field day are bingo, tug of war, soccer, basketball, a tic-tac-toe station, and a throwing station, water balloon fights, jump rope station, ice pops, field goal kicking station for food, hamburgers, hot dogs, and steaks.
So yeah, that was one of the popular suggestions. Do we have any people that grill, any grill masters?
They actually said that one, and they said, we would like steak for breakfast. I said, I'll talk to Ms. Lazarski about that, but that's a big ask. I'm right there with you on that. So we have a real dynamic group. Those are some of our 4th and 5th graders who presented. Here are some pictures of the materials we've got, and it's so great to actually be able to get the resources that they're asking for. So thank you all for providing for the school, and so that we're putting it to good use. And we'll leave you with a small video that we have from the rest of the student advisor who was not able to be here tonight.
Hi, my name is Riley Camellias, and on our last meeting with Ms. Pena and Mr. Glowacki, we talked about fixing up the garden and making it look nice with flowers and rocks.
Hello, my name is Jose Gonzalez, and during the last meeting with Mr. Glowacki, we talked about adding a grill, some herbs, and some steak.
Hi, my name is Malaysia, and in the last meeting we talked about adding a board outside for our teachers to teach us outside.
Hola, mi nombre es Jorge Quiñones. Soy una parte de los Students Ambassadors de la escuela. Nos reunimos aquí cada mes con Mr. Glowacki para discutir las reglas de la escuela y qué podemos cambiar.
Hi, my name is Malaysia, and we come every month and eat lunch and talk to Mr. G what we want to change about school.
Hi, my name is Nakai, and during one of our meetings, we talked about how we wanted more books. These are some of the books that we talked about we wanted to have. And this is one of our Spanish books.
Hi, my name is Avisha. Being a student advisory means that you take meetings with the assistant principal and the principal. What we talk about is how we can change the school in different sorts of ways and different things we can do for the school and many of our students.
Hi, my name is Ava Torres, and I am reading I Will Take a Nap by Mo Williams for student advisory. I asked him to buy this book so I could read all the books.
Hi, my name is Kanan, and the student advisory
we tell Mr. Gulwaki what we want to change in school.
My name is Sharif. I go to student advisory to tell the principal to add more things.
Hi, my name is Ivy. We told Mr. Gulwaki to put hula hoops, jump ropes, and Connect 4 in here.
We have certificates to give the kids. Do we have time to call them up and take a quick picture? All right, perfect.
And so there's, boys and girls, this is for you. The certificate that we're going to present to you in front of the board says, the Student Advisory Group holds an integral place at the Gidney Avenue Memorial School. Being nominated to join this elite group means that your teachers believed that you are capable and able to voice your concerns, opinions, and suggestions on things occurring here at Gidney Avenue Memorial School. We would like to congratulate you and commend you for your active participation. And so the first one is Jorge Quiñones. Abisha Zapata. Peyton Jacobs. Malaysia Murphy. Ivy Hawkins. Nakai Gilchrist. Randy Chirnos. Jose Aguirre. Anthony Cooper. Michelle Cervantes. Sharif Anderson. Ivy Slade. Riley Cavelius. Did I miss anyone? No? You did? And then the other ones are not here.
Thank you very much, Gidney Avenue School and Midtown. Thank you for your presentation. Dr. Campbell?
Thank you, Madam President. That concludes my items for this section.
Thank you. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby recesses into executive session for the following purpose. Matter made confidential under FERPA, employment history of particular individuals, employment history of particular corporations, matters leading to the employment of particular individuals, the review of program and placement of students with disabilities, collective bargaining under the Taylor Law, and to obtain advice from legal counsel. I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Roll call.
Mr. DeRay? Yes. Ms. Green? Yes. Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Lamar? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Straight Iron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
We'll be back in a while. We're sorry we're a little late. We had a lot to talk about. With board members, with your permission, I'm going to put the non-agenda and agenda item public comments now and together. Does anybody have any opposition to that? Thank you. So we're now at the section of the agenda. We're going to start with agenda items. For public discussion on agenda items first, please refer to the regulations regarding discussion and comment. And we have two people signed up for agenda item. The first one is Mr. Malcolm Burks.
Good evening, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, board members, and Madam Superintendent. A wise woman once told me that if you ever want something, you have to be willing to work for it, and you have to justify it, especially when it comes to monies. My name is Coach Burks, or retired Sergeant First Class Burks. I'm currently working with the Junior RTC Air Force at Newburgh Free Academy. I've coached in Germany, Korea, and California, among other places. Here, I've been coaching 24 years. I was 2017 New York State Coach of the Year. I've been named in the Section 9 Hall of Fame. I've been named in the National Track and Field Coaches Hall of Fame. I'm an alumni of Newburgh Free Academy. I played football, which I had a scholarship, HBCU, Winston-Salem, North Carolina for football. I also ran track. My degree is in health science, physical education, and kinesiology. I'm certified in New York and New Jersey to teach as well. Coaching here, we have so far, in my 24 years, we have won 12 national championships, which means we beat all the teams in the whole nation. We have 33. We have 33 New York State titles. 98% of our athletes high school have gone from high school to college, and 100% of our athletes have graduated. Our roster normally consists of 60 to 80 athletes. We go year-round because we have indoor and then we have outdoor seasons. Former athletes, Raul Gould, University of Miami. Robert Walker, St. Aug, North Carolina. Jarrell Warren, Oklahoma State. Xavier McAllister, Kansas State. And Samir Lane, Harvard, also Olympian from Newburgh. Currently, last week at our state qual meet, we finished first in the 4x4 relay, first in the sprint medley, second in the 4x8 relay, second in the 1,000-meter run, and third in the 4x2 meter relay. The reason I'm here is reference to agenda item 5.1. I'd like to thank you for your attention and your concern with this, and I just want to let you know that if I don't think that our athletes deserve that, I would not be here today, nor would they be here today. We have qualified 13 athletes for nationals next week that will take place. And I just want to let you know that this meet is vital. Pin relays, we'll run against 300 of the top high school teams in the nation, including Trinidad, Bahamas, and Jamaica. And they'll also be having pro athletes and college, all the major colleges there. The track meet in South Carolina, we were personally invited to that track meet. They sanctioned that meet for New York State so we can come. We'll be running against teams from Kentucky, Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, North Carolina. And we are the sole New York team that was invited. So I just want to let you know that both, not just one, but both these meets are vital, like the right hand to the left, like the legs to the rest of the body. And like I told my athletes, I'll fight for you. As long as you're doing what's right in life, in school, academically, and in your community, then I'll fight for you to the end. And I'm not here to fight. I'm just here to justify. Like I said, my mother taught me properly. She's a wise woman. And I'm just here to let you know that if you allow this, that your money is well spent. Thank you very much.
Good luck, student athletes. I know you don't need luck. Just do well. Do your best. Thank you. Mr. Ray Harvey.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Madam President, Vice President,
rest of the colleagues, as the district employees. I'm here to talk about what Coach just talked about, because it's so important. And we need to give these young folks a big round of applause, and the coach too, because I mean they're doing some amazing things. When you look at our track and field, it's bar none. It's bar none, right? So I'm here just to say, whatever y'all need to do, please get these young folks to these track meets, because it's so important that they know that we got their back when it comes to things like this. Because, I mean, he just rambled off all kinds of academic accomplishments from running track and field, because we know sports and academic go hand in hand. We know this. We know this. So let's make sure these young folks get to these 2 meets, because they're going to make Newburgh proud, because everywhere they go, they make Newburgh proud. So thank you for letting me put my 2 cents in, but make sure we get these young folks to these 2 meets. Thank you.
We're going to move on to non-agenda items. Mr. Harvey, come on back up.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm not going to get in too much, because as you can hear, my voice is gone from going to the game tonight. It was an exciting game. The young folks made us proud again. They going to Solomon County tomorrow. I think the game is at 7 o'clock in Solomon County. So my plans for tomorrow has been canceled, because I got to get up to Solomon County and support these young folks, because that's what, again, that's what we need to do. A couple of things I do want to talk about non-agenda item is we really have to start putting kids first. Some of you might know that I went with the vice president, Mr. Phil Howard. We was invited to Ann Street School. And that school need a lot of help. Me and the vice president talked about starting a mentor program. I hope we can do that, and I hope we can get the support from the community. But being there, I saw me and them kids. Because what a lot of people don't know is I didn't graduate from high school, because I was that cat, right? And it was a teacher, Mr. Bridget, that told me that I need to go into the military to get some discipline, because I didn't care. I really didn't care for life, because society had told me that I was a failure anyway, so why not act like it, right? So them young folks over at Ann Street need to see that, right? See that we care about them, and that their life can change, right? If they have the right people there to support them. And that's all walks of life, right? That's with the staff. I'm not going to get too much into that, because that's not my field, but the staff, that's a different animal over there at that school. We need to really look at the people that we put over there to teach these young folks, right? That's from security to the teacher, so forth and so on, because some of the things I seen over there had nothing to do with the kids, and I was disappointed, right? Because I just sat there and I observed, and I was very disappointed in what was going over there, right? But, you know, something simple as not getting these young folks their food, man, to them. That's bad. That's because they're ready to eat, right? They don't want to wait another 30 minutes to eat. And then I talked to some of the scholars over there, some of the workers, the principal, Bishop Woody, as I called him, because he deserved that title. And we got these kids sitting in class for 52 minutes. I think that's too long. I mean, call me old country boy, but I think that's too long, especially when you got no outlet over there for them once they set in them classes. There's no gym. There's nothing for them to burn that energy off when they set in these classes for 52 minutes. So we need to look at we need to look at equity, especially at Ann Street School, and how we are preparing these scholars for whatever endowed that they gonna go after they leave us, or they going to work, right? So how are we training them or teaching them how to get a job? Can we partner up with different places so that, you know, they can get employment? I was so excited when the gentleman talked about starting the AHT for veterinary service, but I haven't heard nothing back. We got 4 openings coming up out there, Stewart, where I work at. And it's starting off, these young folks can start off making like $27, $28 an hour. That's good money for here, for this area. It's right there, Stewart, people. All right? I've been out there for 20+ years. I'm getting ready to retire in June, God willing. And it's been good to me, right? I make a decent living. So when I heard that, I got excited. And he took my number, but I haven't heard nothing else, right? Because we got positions. So we have to start really using all sources that we got so that the young folks can feel good. And they won't act. Because I saw Mr. Field talk to the kid. The kid was up here. Mr. Field went in there here, and that kid came down to here. But I also seen people that was started off here, so either the kid's going to go up to here. Because they're from the hood. Thank you. All right, thank you.
I have a name, Sade, on the list. You didn't put your last name? Could you give me your last name? Thank you.
Good evening. I'm here to speak on policy 0301. This policy states that the Board of Education is committed to the continuous improvement of the district in its own functioning. Accordingly, the members of the board shall conduct an evaluation annually to determine the degree to which they are meeting their responsibilities as board members and the needs of their educational community. This self-evaluation shall be constructive, frank, and honest, and shall focus on evaluating the board as a whole, not as individuals. The self-evaluation shall be based on the goals the board sets for itself, not on goals it sets for the entire district. The results of the evaluation shall be used to establish priorities for action and specific goals and objections to strengthen the operation of the board. I would like to ask if you all are evaluating yourselves. The reason I ask this is because when the vote was made to determine whether those teachers would go back to work, only 2 board members voted against it. I see on the agenda that she is being held to be rehired. If the board is supposed to operate in the best interest of our kids, why would it be voted for those teachers to go back into a building and possibly cause more harm to more students? We know that the vote was to agree with the judge's decision for them to return to work. Had enough board members not voted? Had they voted no? It would have been enough to appeal the judge's decision, but that didn't happen. The board did not show up for our kids and show our kids that they have their backs. Because she was not held accountable, she is now retiring. Granted, we are happy that she is retiring, but that seems to be the answer for all of those teachers who harm kids with no accountability. And then they get the pleasure of being offered an early retirement incentive. This is heartbreaking to know that my child, along with many other children, will be educated by a district that blatantly shows that they do not have our children's best interests at heart. I myself have locks, and I would be embarrassed if I was at work and one of my fellow teachers seen one of my locks fall out and she decided to post it. This is embarrassing and it's heartbreaking. And again, we demand a change and an answer. It's unacceptable. Thank you and have a good night.
The next person I have signed up is Mr. Walker, and then.
I wasn't going to say anything, but it seems like what I wrote just falls into what everyone is talking about right The purpose of my talk here is to remind, first of all, myself and maybe others of our roles as parents, family members, teachers, and concerned adults. This is a time when I have never seen kids under such attack. It's like they can be shot anytime. They're told they're ugly. There are all these things that are going on that our kids are falling subject to. The teachable moment, teachable moment is extremely important for us as adults to give to our children. One teachable moment I loved when I was a student, then a teacher, then a parent, was to teach my child and my kids to discover and to claim their own worth. I mean, an unintentional theme is in a lot of literature is knowing oneself and valuing oneself. You can find this in Hamlet, any kind of tragedy you want. I like to read a poem called No Images, written almost 100 years ago during the Harlem Renaissance. And from what I understand, it might be on that takeoff list that we all know about. It goes as follows, it's short. She does not know her beauty. She thinks her brown body has no glory. If she could dance naked under palm trees and see her reflection in the river, she would know. But there are no palm trees on the street, and dishwater gives back no images. The message here for all kids is to live and love your life to the 10th power. No matter who says you're ugly, you're not worthy to live, love your life. Live and love your life. Don't let anyone say who you can be, what your value is, what your rank in society is. You are beautiful because God created beauty. He created you before man created aesthetics. Thank you.
Ms. Johnson, and what's your name, please? You want to go after her? Okay, thank you.
Yes, good evening. My name is Carla Johnson. First, I would like to just talk a little bit about the braid situation. I just feel that suspended with pay did not show nothing. When I say suspended with pay, meaning they were able to catch up on laundry, they were able to catch up on their kids' schoolwork. They wasn't penalized. They just was able to go home with pay and live their life as normal. So just next time something like this happens again, I just wish that it'd be handled a little more better. But why I'm really here is because I have a brown child, a black girl, and she goes to Horizons. And I remember receiving a letter from she was 7 at the time, saying that she needed to be in a 2-people class. Excuse me, she needed to be in a class where there was 2 teachers. And because her academics was a little behind, and I refused to let her go to that class. Why I refused to let her go to that class is because now she's 8. She's only 8. How can you label an 8-year-old? They're still young. They're still learning. And I just think that the school she's in is a great school, Horizons. Mr. Gawaki's no longer our principal, but anytime I have a problem with Horizons, I call Mr. Gawaki and he calls me back and he gives me great feedback so that I can move forward. My child has been displaced on the bus 3 times. One in the summertime, she was let off on Broadway and Du Bois Street. Friday, just passed, she was let off on South Street when she was supposed to be at the Boys and Girls Club. Monday, she didn't even get on the bus. I'm not angry with the school at all, but I want all you guys to remember London Johnson because I am her biggest supporter. I am her advocate, and I will go to wherever to make sure that she's treated with respect. And also, I don't want her to be labeled. She's already labeled because she wears braids. She's already labeled because her skin is brown. I want her to have a fair chance in life. I'm not going to put her in no special education. Before she went to school, I put her in speech therapy in the Windsor. She was the only brown girl there. I put her in speech therapy because I, as a child, went through special education, mentally disturbed, hyperactive, all of these things that they gave me, which wasn't true. So I don't want this to happen to her, so I'm going to fight for her. And what I really want to bring to you guys' attention is that every child is important. And I'm not big on education first, I'm big on housing. If my daughter gets a great night's sleep, wake up in the morning, she'll have a bright future. A lot of kids that's living in the city of Newburgh is living in terrible housing, living conditions, and they go to school and they may act up a little bit because they're not sleeping well. They may not be eating. It's a lot. So just to throw them all in one group together, categorizing them as being troubled kids, we have to bring love back into our school system. We have to care for these kids. We can't keep labeling them as having problems when they may be great readers, great math, they may be great, but they just having a little issues in other areas that's pushing them to have these problems. So just be more mindful before someone wants to put a kid in special education. I don't want my 8-year-old in special education. I will fight the board to keep my child out of special education. It's not a special education problem. My child has a speech problem. And when you have a speech problem, that kind of goes with the reading because you may not be able to hear the sounds and blends. So I'm asking whoever is involved, please make sure that London gets back into speech therapy so that she could be bright. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wish everybody to have a great day.
Ms. Boyd?
Thank you, and I think she said that very well. I excuse myself, I'm sorry, Ms. Boyd, for not signing in on time, but we just finished our board meeting, and I raced over here. I'm a big fan of the 3 Ps, and the 3 Ps, the acronyms, are policies, protocols, and procedures. And I'm a person, I research. I like investigating. So, according to the state regarding the boards, school boards, I'm going to read this. However, school boards do not want to waste times of the public's time of making them wait around. Because of doing so, it fosters bad public relations. Therefore, a school board may wish to schedule proposed executive sessions later in the meeting. Make a motion for the same during the meeting, or state the estimate time when it will expect to return to open session. The meetings, parentheses C, New York State Department of State Committees on Open Government, OML-A0-2426, dated November 23rd, 1994. That has been implemented since that time that this has occurred. And what I'm seeing here at these meetings, that they're not following state board guidelines. We're asking for you guys to take the public into consideration. People have children, people have work, people need to go on and move on with their daily lives, but they still want to come to these meetings and want to share their concerns. They want to share what they're experiencing, their child is experiencing in school. How can they do that? Everyone has to balance life, and we have to take our priorities. And if we know that we need to get to work, we need to feed our kids, we need to bathe them, we need to make sure their homework is done, there's no room for them to come. My question is this being done intentionally? If they're not looking at the public's concerns, and it's a state requirement. You cannot go against the grid and follow your own guidelines to suit your needs for the public not to be here. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to address the board? Go ahead, Mr.
Good evening. After the last board meeting, I was invited to go to the Ann Street School, which is Midtown campus, so I can listen to the staff and the students about what's happening there, because as a board member, we're only getting a small picture of what's happening at all times. So basically, the students are eager to see some positive changes and are tired of the talk that they hear every day without any action. The immediate needs of the program, as articulated by the staff and the students, are as follows, which I did email to the entire board so that they had at least the perspective that I had when I went there. One food and one beverage vending machine similar to the ones at the other high school campuses. They're hungry. They want to eat. And when they have changes between periods, they have 2 or 3 minutes to go from class to class after sitting in class for 52 minutes. They need a little bit longer break in between classes because they have so much energy. By the time the end of the day comes, the students say that they're fighting because they have so much built up energy that they haven't gotten rid of during the day. A portable food heating table so that the food that gets delivered stays hot. The students are served cold food and prevented from heating it up in a microwave. The students deserve hot meals. Basketballs, pull-up bars, and other sports equipment. The gym is a former kindergarten class that has a cardboard box as a basketball hoop. Cardboard box. I mean, I had that when I was like 5 in my backyard. It should not be in a public high school gym. And they were using an old volleyball as a basketball because no one supplied them with sporting equipment. Supplies. There's a great need for all types of everyday school supplies. Paper, pens. They do have some now, but at the beginning of the year, they had practically nothing. Lab supplies for the science room. Currently, the students are working on paper labs. The district can supply some of the robotics equipment that is used during the summer programs, and there is a great need for coding and modern science lessons. The school has no real gym, and many of the students have ADHD. The kindergarten room is tiny, and the students have voiced a great need to get their energy out during the school day. Why can't they have a one-time per week field trip to the Maximum Fitness Gym in Newburgh? Some of the students say they can have a basketball court there, fitness classes, and they would be excited to go there. We could work out a deal with the gym and get a signed waiver from the parents and guardians. How about getting access to the city park across the street? On good weather days, the gym class could walk across the street and get some fresh air and movement. The gym teacher at West Street walks the neighborhood with her class, so why can't this be a similar solution? The ELA teacher suggested a new course for next year for film study. He taught this in Brooklyn and would love to create this new course for his students. The students expressed interest in leaving the program because they wanted access to the cosmetology and ROTC. Let's find a solution for this. After-school clubs. Some of the students don't want to go home after school, and they want an opportunity to form their own clubs and feel part of their classmates' lives. We have students with IEPs, individual education programs, in this school that are not having their specific needs met by the program and is currently being implemented. We need more staff at the school to deal with the gaps in the programming. The students need a few tables and benches to sit outside, eat, and relax during lunch. There's nothing out there right now. There is sufficient space outside to put outdoor furniture, and it would greatly help the mental state of the students. Students and staff suggested that after school and right before school, that it would be good to have a sheriff's car parked outside of the student entrance for their own protection from people from outside coming to hurt them. There's an old library and an office directly next to the area in the entrance that's not part of the current lease. They are unoccupied and connected to the main lobby. Can they negotiate a small modification to the lease to open up 2 more educational spaces in the building? They need another security guard full-time to help with physical altercations. Let's continue the culture of caring. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to address the board on agenda or non-agenda items? Thank you. We're going to move on. We're going to move on to our superintendent of schools, Dr. Manning Campbell.
Thank you. This evening we have a budget presentation. Ms. Roaring, myself, Dr. Freeman Mack, and Ms. Peterson will be presenting the budget tonight. Much of what you will see Ms. Roaring go through, we've gone over. Our budget will be cemented in the Board of Education goals to promote excellence, to enable students to achieve their fullest potential while upholding our fiscal responsibility, ensuring that we're promoting equitable practices. We're not using a one-size-fits-all approach for every one of our campuses, but really looking at our student need, ensuring that we support all students in their educational life goals to their fullest extent. The Board of Education will approve the development and review of current assessments to ensure that they are diverse and culturally responsive, to ensure that we're looking at hiring, curriculum practices to have the best person in front of our student population. My goals mirror the Board of Education's goals. It's essentially looking at instructional programs, ensuring that they're diverse and equitable, fostering family and community engagement opportunities, ensuring that we culminate a strategic plan to move forward in our current climate. We can no longer use what we've had before because we have different student needs and different students in front of us. We will also design and develop extended day opportunities, extended year programs for our students to ensure that we address learning gaps and provide accelerated learning opportunities, bless you, for all of our students. We'll also coordinate the review of the English language arts curriculum to ensure that it reflects our cultural, linguistic, and responsive needs of our current student population, as well as implement policies and practices to ensure that we have the best candidates in front of our scholars. Our budget will go into these 3 buckets. That's essentially the focus: literacy of our students, sustaining programs after our COVID relief funds have ended, ensuring that we can sustain and maintain our programs, safety and security of our students and our staff.
This year's budget development process is an inclusive process. Principals and directors developed a budget request for their buildings and departments. Additional funding and minor maintenance requests were submitted. Updates are being provided throughout the budget development process. The staffing verification process, including vacancies and those funded by grants, is also being completed. And review of one-time funded positions and retirements to determine which positions will be continued and backfilled. At this time, we have filed our tax cap calculation, which was due by March 1st. The initial staffing verification is complete. We're reviewing retirements as notifications are received. Budget adjustments for rate increases for tuition, out-of-district, retirement system contributions, health insurance, salary, contractual obligations based on the collective bargaining agreements, utilities, and transportation have all been included, and we're doing our initial revenue review.
In terms of equity in our budget, we want to make sure, and I think I've said this before earlier, that our building allocations at an amount per student based on our building enrollment, that we are not using a broad canvas. We're making sure that we're targeting based on student need, as well as looking at resources that are available for our L population and our in-district programs for special education. We want to make sure that we have professional development and look at ways that we can have our special education students return to our district in a more appropriate environment. We're looking at data-driven staffing, such as academic intervention support staff. Do we need the same amount in every single building? Those are the items that we're looking at when we're looking at equity in the budget. Ensuring that we're establishing the appropriate staffing and student ratios. We cannot run classes with 5 students. It's not fiscally responsible. We have to make sure that we're equitable across our buildings. We have mandated expenses. We have our tuition for BOCES for out-of-district programs, special education program, E&L services, and those are just some of the mandated programs. I won't go through each and every one, but it is listed on the slideshow and it will be posted on our district website.
Some required budget increases for fiscal year 24 include contractual salary increases for staff based on collective bargaining agreements, increases in our health insurance premium. We're seeing fairly substantial increases year over year in this area. We are also experiencing tuition rate increases for out-of-district placements, charter school placements, and BOCES placements. This year, the employer contribution rate for both retirement systems is increasing, and we have to account for that. We have increases in our premiums for the property and liability insurance, and we are letting a new transportation agreement this year based on an RFP, and we prepare a recommendation for the board for our next meeting. The tax cap calculation was filed, as I mentioned. So when we look at the tax cap calculation, there's a couple of factors in here. This year, we know that the rate of inflation far outpaces the 2% cap in the tax cap calculation, so that is in at 2%. We have pilot receivable payments anticipated next year at $2.3 million. So our levy without allowance adjustments is $111.58 million. Below that line, you'll see the capital tax levy exclusion for next year. This number is the difference between our debt service payments for next year and our state building aid. That difference is $3.68 million. When we look at that adjustment, in addition to the levy without adjustment, that gives us a maximum allowable levy of $115.26 million with a simple majority vote. If the district maintains its tax levy from this year to next, that is a difference of $4.397 million that we would not collect in revenue. When we look at our tax levy history over the past 8 years, it's been essentially flat. Getting into some of the divisional expenditures, the Operations and Maintenance Department has some one-time expenditures next year. These are facility needs across the district that do include requests from building principals specific to their buildings. A couple of the big items include repairing some of the primary mechanical components of elevators in 2 of our schools. We want to be in front of this before they fail. So given the vintage and the challenge in procuring parts, we are looking to do that work at Temple Hill and Fostertown next year. We also are looking to do new public address systems in 4 of our schools. Those are past their useful life, and we are now unable to procure parts for repair, so we need to be in front of that as well as a life safety matter. Those schools include Meadow Hill, Temple Hill, Valesgate, and NFA North. We also would prepare to do some playground repairs and installations of new edges and equipment for our students, replace some damaged or missing fencing across the district. There are 4 schools who need to have their stage floors repaired. This is at Gidney Avenue, New Windsor, Valsgate, and South Middle School. That's really a sanding down and refinishing of those wooden floors to restore those for proper student use. And the last item on here is power backup at NFA Main, which would allow for safe emergency egress from the building during a power outage. In safety and security, we look to continue the school resource officers. We are planning an allocation for equipment that will allow us to maximize our state aid in this area of $35,000. These funds would be used for cameras and metal detectors. We are looking at the addition of 2 district-wide school monitors to better support when staff are not in for various reasons. Focus on violence prevention is really important. So we're looking at implementing a school threat assessment plan form and providing training for our administrators. Dr. Freeman-Mac will speak to the next few slides.
Thank you. As it relates to the state increases that we are expecting July 1 of this year, as it relates to RISE and alternative instruction when students are suspended, I will refer to RISE as alternative instruction because that is exactly what it is. So with these mandates, the hours of academic support for students will increase from 2 hours to 3 hours at the secondary level and from 1 hour to 2 hours at the elementary level. So it does cause us to need to take a shift and plan and prepare. At our current program, it is difficult to staff because it does happen after the school day has ended. We are continually looking for substitutes to support the students. It does happen late in the day, and unfortunately, we're only offering our students 1 session. This is a concern if there is a conflict between students. It's really difficult to separate them. Thank you. So in revamping and examining the alternative instruction program, we are looking to create 4 to 6 alternative instruction tutors. We're looking to provide 2 instructional settings each day for the students so we can ensure that they are meeting that mandated amount of academic support. The tutors will work 3 to 6 hours per day in an AM and a PM session. Staffing will also include an administrator and a clerical support, which is pretty much what the program has right now. We want to make sure, as always, that the teacher of record is involved with the students, the tutors providing that work, and just better course alignment. The administrator will continue to work with the building principal on reentry plans, and we also look to support look to create a center that can work on that restorative work for when students reenter back into their home schools as well. The hearing office does also have some redesigning that we will look to create as well. We need to create 2 part-time hearing officer positions so that we are always staffed in that location. The hours would be up to 28 per week. It would be a 4-day week, so they would kind of work together on some days and not together on other days. And the hearings will still be scheduled Monday through Friday, of course. Thank you.
Thank you. So our Power School platform, we are going live with the automated processes, moving away from paper, and we'll have better recruitment strategies. Teaching assistant to teacher certification master's program partnerships. That was one of the things that I heard a lot when coming in, that we need to make sure that we're tapping into our talent. And so we do have teaching assistants here who are have their degrees, and we want to make sure that we move them into teacher certification master's programs. Bilingual certification extension partnership. The district is looking to cover tuition costs for current faculty to acquire bilingual extensions because it is a high need area of the district.
So good evening, everyone. I'm going to present on the information and technology. I can't, my public speaking teacher from NFA always told me I'm better on my feet. So information and technology, as we came out of the pandemic, has been expanding in ways that are unimaginable, but actually really great and wonderful learning opportunities and instructional opportunities for teachers. This year, as a department, we've really worked on aligning the vision with our board goals and superintendent goals and our strategic plan moving forward. And one of the things that the pandemic really taught us is that our students need to understand digital citizenship and what does that really mean. And it really needs to be responsive to where they're at in their youth culture, but also culturally and linguistically responsive. So we've been working on that in collaboration with curriculum instruction, and we need to continue that work. The pandemic also really showed us that hardware and making sure that we have working devices that are accessible to students and to faculty is really important, and if they have access to high-speed connectivity within our district. We also needed throughout the district to really educate and provide people the opportunities to understand New York State Education Law 2D. This is a law that has come in place in New York State to really help students and parents feel that their data and information is protected by school districts. So we have to raise awareness and make sure that the district is following certain policies and procedures. And we just wanted to make sure that we have some efficient operations when students enter and exit the district throughout our registration department. So in terms of instructional software, we're really trying to work on determining the need and the resources that our teachers use daily and really work on monitoring its usage and aligning our work with curriculum and instruction. So we've been really working with divisional leaders and our instructional support facilitators have been really trying to make sure that we're looking at what resources are being utilized and asking the question, if not, why not, and how we can best support teachers with those instruction. This year, we also implemented the academic planner for high school students in 9th grade. It's a pilot program where we're really working with students to think about their four-year academic plan in hopes that this will help them with their post-high school plan. We also implemented Go Guardian, which is a web content monitoring tool that is used for teachers in instruction, and it helps them see if students are on task. It also allows us to keep an inventory and placement over our devices. So if there's a device that's lost or missing, we're able to locate that and deactivate that, and that implementation process allowed us to really have face-to-face contact with teachers and administrators, making sure they understand how to use the platform. We are also continuing work on our Digital Promise, which is a Verizon grant that we received, where teachers are able to earn micro-credentials in certain buildings. So we're trying to really support instruction and access to certain programs throughout the district. The next thing, which is very important for us to all be aware, and I think that I'll be speaking about cybersecurity more and more often, because this is a part of the New York State Education Law 2D. It's mandated by districts, and it's also important for us to make sure that our information and our data is protected. I know that we've heard things in the news about some attacks that can happen on school districts, and the National Institute for Standards of Technology, or called NIST framework, is something that the federal government and our state government is really wanting to make sure that school districts are aware of and that we're participating. This is something, cybersecurity is often something that is seen that it's only a technology issue. However, it's a whole school system issue. We have to be aware of it. We have to be able to identify if there is a problem, protect our network against attacks, detect any abnormalities, respond to whatever we're seeing, and if there is a data loss or data breach, we have to be able to recover the information. So we've done several projects with IBM this year to really make sure that we are understanding that cybersecurity is not just a technology issue, it's a district issue, and we need to be making opportunities and plans so that we can always respond to it. End user software is how we do our day-to-day functions in the district. So whether you're in an office, if you're instruction, how are we working with our software and hardware? How are we making sure that our workflow and our integration and our data privacy is all in alignment? So this year, we've been doing various things to make sure that we review and make sure that our staff are trained. We've done several trainings, and we'll continue to do another training in the spring. For typists and clerical, we want to review our reporting procedures and what's important. We also have been working on data integrations for different programs within the district that help our day-to-day practices. We are also supporting the implementation of the Power School product with HR for Unified Talent and Recruit Front. And we're also going to be piloting soon, that was just approved at last board meeting, Infinite Campus Workflow. So we're excited about the workflow and the integration that we're bringing to the district, and we're hoping for this to continue. In terms of hardware, we're still really working to make sure that our inventory and our replacement cycle is where it needs to be, and that we're utilizing our one-time dollars to make sure that we come up with a structure that can be long-standing within the district. We have really been trying to focus on what the need is. Do our students have access? How are we using our inventory to best support learning and academics? Within our registration department, we really want to make sure that the community is supported by our schools. We've been working really hard to make sure that upon registration, that that parents are supported, that they have information for the parent portal, which we know is an essential part of just understanding attendance and grades. We also have really been working hard, the registration department has also been working hard to spread knowledge about records and how do we get records for students and to the building so that students can be served. We continue to build our community collaborations with our UPK programs as well as the Armory to support parents. We have several events throughout the year to make sure that they have all the parents and families have all the information they need to begin within the district. Looking forward, we are still going to be continuing some of the things that I talked about already in the conversation is really trying to align a lot of our resources with our divisional leaders, especially curriculum and instruction, so that we can have a more focused approach in supporting teachers with instruction. We are also going to be monitoring the compliance around Education Law 2D, making sure that we are not only speaking about data privacy, but also cybersecurity. We are going to continue to monitor and make recommendations around inventory control and the maintenance of our in-building devices, and just look for overall improvement because we know the role of technology in education every day is expanding more and more. Thank you.
Thank you. Onyx.
So on March 14th, we will provide the board with another budget update. In that presentation, we will have information from the Curriculum and Instruction Division as well as exceptional learners. We'll also review what will be funded in our American Rescue Plan federal dollars in fiscal year 22. These funds expire in September of 24, so as we look at how we can spend the funds next year, we want to make sure that we're maximizing all of the dollars that are available to us. We're going to review what will be funded as well in the foundation aid set-asides. At our last meeting, I shared with you the introduction of a new set-aside that the governor has proposed this year for high-impact tutoring, as well as the continuation of Contract for Excellence in community schools. If there are any questions.
Any questions?
Board members, questions or comments? Yes, Mr. Stradard.
There was a portion of the presentation that talked about high-impact tutoring. Who are going to be these tutors, and how is that going to work?
So this is a new requirement if the governor's proposal is accepted with the legislative budget. So we are in initial conversation about what that would look like. She has a very clear definition for us, and then how we would roll that out if it is approved with the legislative budget at the end of March.
So will the tutors be operating during the regular school day, or is that after-school programming?
There has been some initial guidance around that, but we would really have to wait and see what the final guidance is in terms of how we implement that program.
Yes, Mr. Howard.
Thank you, Madam President. So I think this is an excellent time to have these conversations. So we said a portion of the presentation was 2 district-wide security guards. So is that going to be enough? I guess that's my question. Because if there's going to be a need for more, this would be the time to ask for that, or do we already are we already making not amends, but are we already making that work for us, the numbers that we have, or is 2 enough, or do we need more?
So what we can do for this week's BOE Weekly is provide an update to you on the staffing levels at each of the buildings for your consideration and an understanding of what these 2 additional school monitors would look like in that realm. And then, of course, if the board is wanting to have conversations about additions, that would be something we can take up at our next meeting.
Okay, and also, Madam President, I love the conversation around equity and access, and I really think it's going in the right direction, but I know for years we've been talking about we understand the difference between equity and equality, and we've been having that conversation, but I think we've been coming up short. But based on what I'm reading, what I heard tonight, I think we're really getting to the meat on the bone, understanding what equity is as opposed to equality. And I guess the big question around that, we need to understand what that difference is so that we can let that squeaky wheel get the oil so that the money can go to where it's needed, as opposed to making everyone have the same amount. But equity is so important. That's the conversation this board needs to be having in regards to understanding what that equity is in this building, where the gaps are in this district, what is lagging, what is falling behind. I think a perfect example, the conversation when Mrs. Peterson said something about post-pandemic and where we need to be, because it's on steroids now. Information technology is on steroids now. So although some people did feel, during the pandemic that everybody should have flourished, no, everybody was not able to flourish. We had pockets in our community that weren't even able to have access to Wi-Fi, hotspots, and things like that. And I think we need to really understand that the damage that the pandemic has done to kids in our district, and that we really understand where those gaps are and try to bring those kids up to where they need to be, because they deserve that. That pandemic has impacted this district so terribly, and you just have to be around some of the kids sometime to understand the gaps in the black holes that some of these kids are in because of the pandemic. But if we as a district can really understand what we need to do from an equity standpoint, it's going to be a win-win for our scholars.
Anybody else? Yes, Mr. Lamar.
Speaking about what Mr. Howard was just saying about equity, on the equity in the budget page, it says building allocations are an amount per student based on building enrollment. But we have schools in special need that I assume there are adjustments based off of TSI or CSI standing. And I don't even know if we know which schools are in good standing, CSI or TSI at this point. I know the state released it, but I'm curious to know how we can discover more about that.
Mr. Ford.
So that information is still embargoed by the state. It hasn't been released yet. We have received the data on those schools so that we can begin to react to it and address in planning how to support those particular schools. There is a new accountability system with a different level of identification labels. As soon as the state releases and lifts that embargo, you'll get a full presentation of the accountability system, as well as reports from each of the building SLTs.
But as relates to this budget being put together, that data that you have access to is being taken into account with each individual school building's budget?
Yes, thank you. And it's really important that we clear that up. We just can't share it with the public. Thank you.
I would like to follow up on something that Mr. Howard said. One of the things that impressed me was that in developing the budget, you were looking at the AIS needs of students, and I think our students need our first attention. They need to be there first. And I think that was really important to me, that not every school needs to have the same amount of resources when it comes to help for students. So thank you. Anybody else? Yes, Mr. Stradine.
I know that the state test scores are known but not public. Is that information going to be used to develop the budget for the needs for the students for next year?
You you want to?
Yes, Mr. Straight-Iron, I believe that's what Mr. Lamar was just asking, the same question. We can use the data and we can share the data internally within the district for planning purposes, such as budget and instructional. We just can't share it until it's released by the Commissioner of New York. Once it's released, an accountability presentation will be provided, but we are using that data to inform the design of the budget.
And just as a follow-up, when will the board and the public be told as far as programming cuts for these upcoming vote?
We are not looking to cut any programs this fiscal year 23-24. We are looking and monitoring what we have currently to see how we can save and continue to maintain with the next budget, looking at an equity calculation, ensuring that we are funding our schools appropriately by student need, by student numbers and enrollment. So that's what we're looking at. But as of this point, we are not looking to cut anything. We're looking at positions and what if we truly need those positions in the buildings. But we're maintaining the programs that we have.
Mr. Howard?
Thank you, Madam President.
You're welcome.
So I think that's an incredible idea coming down from the governor in regards to tutoring and stuff of that magnitude. But my question is this. As in the past, when we get money from the government, when we get money from the state, it's not always forever. What will we be doing as a district to sustain that work when that money stops? Because that's going to be work that's going to really help our scholars in our district. And are we going to do anything to build it into what we do as a district after that money stops coming from the government, or if it stops coming from the state?
So one of the things that when we do receive additional monies that we have to do is build our teacher capacity. And once we build our teacher capacity by professional development programs, then we know that we can sustain programs and tutoring for our student population. So we have to leverage to make sure that the teachers receive additional training so that they can also keep that going when the money, so to speak, runs out.
Board members, any other questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. That concludes my items.
No, you have some,
I take that back.
you have some resolutions.
I do have some resolutions. I'd like to present items 3.2 through 3.4 as consent items for your consideration.
Would any member like to separate out any of these items? No? I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Can I have a second? Second. Questions or discussion? Roll call, Ms. Clerk.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Straight Iron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Duray?
I understand we'd have something that we'd like to add to the agenda. Ms. Roaring, would you like to read that, please? And please, this is long, so please have patience with us. It's very long.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, I will read the resolution that is proposed. Whereas due to the deteriorated condition of the existing elevated concrete slab, an area at the rear of NFA Main, associated with the egress from the elevated second floor near the gymnasium, has deflected significantly, resulting in an unsafe condition. And whereas as a result of this circumstance and in accordance with the recommendation of CS Arch and its structural engineers Pissarro Associates, immediate action is required to safeguard the area until the concrete slab and associated components, impacted doorways, a stair that accesses the fitness room, etc., can be removed and replaced, including putting up temporary fencing restricting access to this area for all but the portion required for safe egress, installing some level of impact scaffolding if needed, and other protective measures. And whereas the Board of Education is empowered to determine that the expense of these protective activities is an ordinary contingent expense within the meaning of Section 2023 of the New York State Education Law and Section 170.2 Parens 1 of the regulations of the Commissioner of Education, and that the conditions can constitute an emergency within the meaning of Section 103 of the General Municipal Law to allow for the temporary fencing, impact scaffolding, and other protective measures as may be necessary, and for the replacement of the concrete slab, associated components, and related work to be submitted to and approved by the State Education Department on an expedited basis. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the New Bergen Large City School District hereby determines and declares that the cost of the temporary fencing, impact scaffolding, and other protective measures as needed in related work, including incidental costs and expenses, constitutes an ordinary contingent expense within the meaning of Section 2023 of the Education Law and Section 170.2, parens 1 of the Regulations of the Commissioner of Education, and that the above described activities at NFA Main constitute an emergency within the meaning of Section 103 of the General Municipal Law. And be it further resolved that the Board hereby determines and declares that the removal and replacement of the concrete slab and associated components and related work constitutes an emergency project and authorizes the Superintendent of Schools to file the necessary and proper paperwork with the State Education Department to proceed with the emergency removal and installation of the concrete slab and associated components and other related work. And be it further resolved that CS Arch is hereby authorized to conduct any necessary testing and to develop the detailed replacement design by, on, or about May 1st, 2023 for submission to the State Education Department to seek approval on an expedited basis. And be it further resolved that the Board of Education is designated as the lead agency with respect to this emergency project and hereby determines that the removal and replacement of the concrete slab and associated components and related work at NFA Main will not have a significant environmental impact and declares this project a Type 2 action pursuant to Section 617.5, parens 1, maintenance or repair involving no substantial changes in the structure or facility, and or 2, replacement, rehabilitation, or reconstruction of a structure or facility in kind on the same site, and or, parens 10, routine activities of educational institutions, and will not have any significant environmental impacts, that no further review of the project is required and no further action is required. And be it further resolved that the Board of Education hereby ratifies any actions taken by district administration and the Executive Director of Facilities, if any, prior to approval of this resolution in order to effectuate the purposes of this resolution.
Thank you, Ms. Roaring, for reading that. I'd like to entertain a motion to add this to the agenda. Roll call to add.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Straight-Iron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. DeRay?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Now, here's the good news. We don't have to read it all again because it was up there, so thank you. I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion on this item? Roll call, Ms. Clerk.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Straight-Iron? Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. DeRay?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
That now concludes my items. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Manning Campbell. We're going to, we have next the committees that have met this month. So first, I'd like to call on Mr. Levinstein to do the Facilities Committee. And it's okay.
So the Facilities Committee met on February 15th, and we had a pretty long meeting. We had discussions about the EPC updates that's been going on for quite a few years, the energy performance contract updates and what needs to be done with that. We spoke to the Palumbo Group and CPL Architects on the capital projects and had an update from them. We also had, which we hadn't had in a while, a capital project finance update by Ms. Ferguson, and that deals with the bond and bands that the district will be borrowing money from for all the projects. We also discussed with Mr. Velez the tree removals at New Windsor to make way for the capital project. The stairs and locker room, like we just discussed now, and approved that resolution. The communications tower light update, and trimming of trees at Temple Hill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Levinstein. And that was incorrect, so now it's correct up there. So we're going to do the Personnel Committee, and all of the things discussed at the Personnel Committee are on the agenda. The DEI committee will meet before the next meeting in March. So that will happen. So we're going to move on to our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction Secondary, Dr. Farrell.
Thank you, Madam President. Bring you tonight items 5.1 to 5.3 for your consideration.
Would any member like to separate out any of these items? I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion? Roll call, Ms. Clerk.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Straight Iron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Duray?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam President. That concludes our agenda items.
Thank you, Dr. Farrell. We're going to move on to our Assistant Superintendent for Exceptional Learners, Mr. Bayer.
Thank you, Madam President. The Exceptional Learner Committee Division has item 6.1 for a consent agenda for your consideration.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Questions or discussion on this item? Roll call, Ms. Clerk, sorry.
Mr. Straight Iron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Duray?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes my items.
Thank you, Mr. Baer. We're going to move on to our Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, Mr. McLemore.
Thank you, Madam President. On the Human Resources agenda, I have items 7.1 through 7.9 for your consideration on tonight.
Would any member like to separate out any of these items? I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Questions or discussion on these items? Roll call, Ms. Clerk.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Duray?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Straight Iron?
Yes.
I understand there's an addition to your agenda.
Yes, Madam President.
Would you read it, please?
Yes. Be it resolved that the board hereby approves. Be it resolved that the board hereby approves an employment-related agreement with Roger Ramjug as presented to the board at this meeting. A copy of said agreement shall be incorporated by reference within the minutes of this meeting. And be it further resolved that the board hereby accepts Mr. Ramjug's letter of resignation effective close of business on June 30th, 2023.
I'd like to entertain a motion to add this to the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Roll call to add.
Mr. Duray?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Straight Iron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion? Roll call, Ms. Clerk.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Straight Iron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Duray?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam President. That concludes my items.
Thank you, Mr. McLemore. We're going to move on to the Clerk of the Board, Ms. Novotny.
Thank you, Madam President. I have two agenda items this evening. I have the approval of minutes from the February 14, 2023 regular meeting.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Questions or discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Straight Iron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Howard? My next agenda item is the Board of Education candidates information packets. But before I get into that, I would like to acknowledge the resignation letter of Board Member Ms. Ramona Burton that I received effective February 27, 2023.
Thank you. I'd like to say thank you for your service, Ms. Burton. She's been on the board for quite a while. This is her fifth year. And her service to our children and our school district really has to be noted. Thank you, Ms. Burton.
The Board of Education packets for potential candidates to run for the board are now available. Please get in touch with me if you have any questions. There are 4 seats available for a 3-year term. This year, the trustees whose term will be available are held by Ms. Ramona Burton, Mr. Levenstein, Ms. Mineo, and Mr. Walker. That concludes my items, Madam President.
Thank you, Ms. Novotny. Okay, we're at this part. Yes, ma'am.
She said 4 terms, 3 years. 3 years is 3.3, 1 for 1.
Yes, sir.
Oh, sorry.
That's a correction. Thank you, Mr. Howard.
Thank you.
Ms. Burton's term is a 1-year term, correct? And the other 3 are 3-year terms. So, and it goes, the person who gets the least amount of the number 4 vote is the one that gets that position. So I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting. Roll call, please.
Mr. Levenstein?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mrs. Straight-Iron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. DeRay?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, and good night. See you in 2 weeks.